Morning, everyone. This is Pastor Jim Chinnery. Today is Tuesday, March 31st. Hello to all friends and members of St. Martin Lutheran Church. I'm here once again in my office. I've been looking at the thumbnails for the previous videos, and I feel like I can do something different at the beginning of each video to differentiate them. It certainly reminds me that I can't wear the same shirt every day like I sometimes like to. Because I'll have video evidence that I never changed my shirt, and who wants a pastor who never changes their shirt? Hi, Heather. Our reading for this morning is from 1 Corinthians chapter 12, 1 Corinthians 12, beginning at the 7th verse. This is what Paul writes. So to keep me from being conceited, because of the surpassing greatness of the revelations, a thorn was given me in the flesh, a messenger of Satan to harass me, to keep me from being conceited. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord about this, that it should leave me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. And it's that last statement that doesn't make sense to our modern ears. When I am weak, then I am strong. For those of us who are a little older, we remember who Mary Tyler Moore was. For the younger people, I think if someone under 40 might not know who she is, but she was kind of America's sweetheart in the 70s and 80s, and she was quite active in her television career up until even the early part of the 2000s. And I think, and I find myself, and you may find this true of you as well, when I think of celebrities, it's easy for me to paint this picture that they're so blessed with all their money and with all their fame. But when you look at Mary Tyler Moore's life, her life wasn't so charmed. She was married and divorced 3 times. One guy she married and divorced twice. So 2 guys, 3 divorces. Her sister passed away after overdosing when she was in college. Her son accidentally shot himself. And she struggled with alcohol abuse and diabetes. In the middle part of the 2000s, lost her vision and passed away in 2017. And she was being interviewed, and someone asked her to sum up her experiences in life, and her summation was this: none of us gets out of here without pain. None of us gets out of here without pain. And I think Paul and Mary Tyler Moore in that aspect would have been kindred spirits. Paul talked about this thorn in his flesh, and although we don't know exactly what it was, some people speculate it was epileptic seizures. Some people think it was some type of acute neurological pain. Some people believe it was the venomous criticism he was getting from some in the early church. Some believed it was the result of continued beatings and imprisonments. We don't know what the thorn was, but I think Paul would have shared Mary Tyler Moore in the sentiment that none of us gets out of here without pain. Which really leads us to the question then, can good come from suffering? And of course the answer is yes. Yes, it can. And before I get to the answer to the question, I stumbled upon this story too. Scott Wesley Brown, a very well-known contemporary Christian artist. He's, I think, over 25 albums, played in 50 different countries. And he told a story of years ago when communism was up and running in Russia and the Iron Curtain was up. He was actually playing, he was singing in a small church in communist Russia, and he describes the people as with a few impoverished worshipers at this church, and the church structure itself was so worn down that even the concrete had, you could see dirt through the concrete where it had been worn down. And he, sorry, my phone is ringing and it interrupted me. So is life. And after the concert, an older woman approached him and thanked him for singing. And then she made a statement that confused him at first. And she said, It must be hard to be a Christian where you're from in the United States. And he heard her say that. And on the way home, he asked his interpreter uh, what she meant, because of course she was speaking in Russian and he didn't understand what she was saying. And he said, you know what? She knows that in the United States you are so blessed with wealth. You have fast food restaurants. You have wonderful clothing. You have luxurious cars and homes. You have so many things. But here in Russia, the Christians, all they have is their faith in Christ. And he said she knows it's harder for people who have everything to put their faith in God. Why? Because those of us who have everything, we put our faith in things, not in God. And that's why she felt it must have been so hard to be a Christian in the United States. And you know, thorns, we all have them in some form. I know you have them. I know I have my own as well. But I tell you, and Paul, in his special connection to God, was able to understand that the thorn was given him so he would not be so arrogant. Apparently, Paul was tended to be vain and arrogant, and that this thorn kept him from being conceited, kept him focused on God. And I would not presume to say that the struggles and the sufferings that our country and our world are going through are so that God can teach us a lesson. I'm not going to presume that, but I can say there are lessons we can learn from this. And I think when we suffer, and you know, we could call this COVID-19 a thorn in our side. It's a thorn in everyone's side. I just got off the phone this morning with two people who their loved ones are in hospitals and they can't visit. And they're both quite ill. And spending this morning at the nursing facility again with residents who, for the last 2 weeks, have been completely shut off from their family and friends. And the poor staff at this particular nursing facility who are feeling overworked and a thorn. I think it's safe to say that this COVID-19 is a thorn in our side. But you know what? We can see the blessings in this. There are some things we can learn. One, I think in our sufferings, it teaches us empathy for others. For those who have really suffered, it's a lot easier to empathize and to have compassion on other people who suffer. And I think the second thing is suffering, it increases our sensitivity to God. You know, we understand when Scott Wesley Brown, the contemporary musician in Russia, when the woman said to him, it must be hard for Christians to have faith in Christ. We get the sentiment. Yeah, when someone has everything, that's what we put our faith in. And maybe at a time like this is a time to strengthen our faith. I think we can certainly see the blessing in that. And I thank you again for joining us. The song I chose today is Thy Word is a Lamp. Thy Word is a lamp to my feet. Lost a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. Receive the Lord's blessing and be a blessing to others. Thank you so much for your time, and may God bless your day.